they don't know the features that are available. But I had one gentleman say, "Oh, it's zooming is so much faster in this other product." And I'm thinking, really? No, it's not. But I don't want to say that. And but it's different if you're an instructor or you're somebody that's a tech guy and you're saying that something that's not true. Then I'm gonna push back on that a little bit. The average person, hey, you do what works for you. But I will tell you this: the tools in Studio One can usually see, match, and very often go beyond what you can do in the other DAWs. So my commercial announcement, and then we'll get started here. If you haven't checked it out, of course, this is brought to you by VO Jumpstart. Got a bunch of stuff for Studio One, for RX, and for VoiceOver. Wait till you see what we have coming up here this fall. I think you're going to be quite impressed. So do check out vojumpstart.com. And our latest, this thing's been going crazy. I've been really happy with the way this is doing here. So Audio Barnyard, and I never thought of putting these up on YouTube. And we're talking about booth breathing. This has just gone crazy. So be sure to check it out, comment, post it in other groups where it makes sense for you. So, all right. And here's a simple example. Across the timeline, we have this timeline. Most of you know that we can drag on this timeline. If I drag up, it compacts it. If I drag down, it expands it. So someone will say, well, it's faster in another DAW to go ahead and zoom in because you don't have to grab this and drag it. Couple things, though. One, it's a two-dimensional tool. Not only, if I want to actually work with this little segment here, not only can I drag this straight down to zoom in, but I can drag it left and right so that I can set it where I want on my screen when editing. So that's a pretty powerful advantage when not only am I zooming in, because if I just zoom in at 17 seconds, sometimes now the audio I wanted to work with was at 17.2, and now that's off the screen to my right. So that doesn't help. So you can not only zoom in, but you can drag it left and right. So it's a 2D control, meaning it's side to side, the timeline works, straight up and down, the timeline works, and then you can do it all at once when you get good with the mouse, all right? So there are some other techniques though. Most people don't know that if you use the E and the W key, then your cursor will stay wherever you put it. So if I wanted to edit at 20 seconds, then the E and the W key will allow me to zoom in and zoom out quickly. And that works pretty well if that's what you want to do. So you can use keyboard shortcuts and zoom in and out. I'm just making a pretty little display there. Zoom in, zoom out, and that kind of thing. Somebody wants a fast way to do it. This one is less known, but ultra powerful. And I really should back up. One minor thing. If you do punch and roll well, you can eliminate 70, 80% of your editing anyway. So I don't really understand what most people are doing editing-wise anyways. And if you have RX, you can take out all the mouth noise through RX. So you're not going to edit out mouth noise. If you want to reduce breaths, then there's easy ways to reduce breaths by just dragging across, double click, and do this. Now, I don't do any of that to my raw audio, but I'm just saying you can. If you want to reduce a breath, there's an easy way to do that as well. I'll take that out. So there are easy ways to do a lot of this editing stuff. But let's say you have there's some noise right there. You can zoom in both vertically, so you can go down the lower right-hand corner. Right here, there's a little control. And you can drag that up and down. I don't usually do that, although sometimes if I'm editing, I will actually do that. I will have it zoomed in where it looks like it's clipping because I want to see something here on the audio without having to do a whole lot, in terms of movement. So I can be pre-zoomed in if I want with this little control on the bottom. That's called a data zoom. A couple of control, and then, so that works pretty well, but watch this. Let's say I do really want to zoom in on this. I want to get a big zoom. Well, of course, I could drag this down and zoom in a lot, but then I have to put it back. So, all that work. I know my mouse has to work really hard, but watch this. If you take Alt Alt on the PC, Option on the Mac, and add the Shift key, then you get this cool magnifying glass. Watch this. If I want to zoom in on this, I highlight what I want to zoom in on, and automatically Studio One takes it and takes whatever space you have for the window and zooms in for you. Once you hold those, and then a single click takes me back to the original level. So here's how I do it in context. So I want to look at this, grab those keys, boom, zoomed in, and then with a single click, zoom out. And it also allows you to do it multiple levels, which just means this. So let's say I wanted to look at this little section here. Hold down those keyboard shortcuts. Those are called mouse modifiers. We get the magnifying glass. Drag over what I want to zoom in on, And then if I wanted to do it again, I can zoom in a second time. And now I just got that little tiny little fragment for the second time. But when I want to go back the other way, watch this, hold down the same keys, click, click, and I'm back to where I was right at the beginning. So when someone tells you you have to do all this work to zoom in, like, wow, that's a lot of work having to drag that down and drag that up. Okay, maybe you don't like that way. Maybe you want to use the keyboard shortcuts E and W and go ahead and zoom in there and zoom back out. That works just as well, those keyboard shortcuts. You also have the Alt Shift, Option Shift, and drag over something. It will take it, and you can go multiple levels and then click, click, and go back out to the same level. That's a pretty amazing zoom thing. And then here's the one that people just don't remember and don't think about. Number one, if I really want, I can go ahead and set up a whole separate window. So let's say I have this zoomed in at this level where I'm horizontally, I'm not that zoomed in, 18, 19, 20. I can open up this edit panel here. And most people just don't pay any attention to this, and I don't use it most of the time. I don't need to. I'm not doing that much editing. By the way, if you're doing a lot of editing on your voiceovers, a lot of times it means we're not recording as well as we could. Now, there are some exceptions to that. Sometimes I get audio from other people that I'm editing together, and I have a lot of work to do. But so if you're doing your own, you have a lot of control over that. But here's the cool thing about this window. These two windows, this is the same audio, but you can set up a total alternate view. So you see this little bit that's highlighted here? Watch. I now can zoom this way, and then I can zoom it this way vertically if I choose to. But now, as soon as I highlight something, then I can get it set up to where, watch this, here's the cursor. I can turn on this other feature that almost nobody knows about, and that's called cursor moves to edit position. Well, I think that's what it's called. Cursor follows edit position. So sometimes if I'm editing a bunch of stuff, I'll turn that on because watch this. Whenever you move the cursor, whenever you highlight anything, it puts the cursor at the beginning. So I could listen to it if I want. It's just highlight. The cursor is automatically put at the beginning, but also it keeps the cursor here. So as I move this around, there's my cursor, right? It's hard to see. Let me switch the color here. Let's go. Oh, I'll bet I can switch the color here. I never tried this. Oh, it's for both. By the way, I haven't tried that. Also, hey, most people won't know this. I roll my mouse wheel over that, and I can change the colors. As I go really dark. All right. I don't usually go that dark, but since it's the same audio, I can go dark. Now, that allows you to just see my mouse cursor easier. So as I move it here, but this little bit highlighted, it's the same thing. If I go in here and go ahead and let me do something real quick. I go in here, double click, that creates an event. I change the color of just the event. We'll get this blue, and you'll notice it's changing in both places. Well, what does all that mean? It means that if you choose to, you can have a whole secondary window. And I have to admit, I'm at a low resolution right now. Whenever I do these, I'm at regular high def. This is a 4K monitor, so a lot of times I'm in 4K. So this screen could be on your other monitor if you have multiple monitors. If you have a higher resolution, and today it's becoming more and more common to have a higher resolution, then you can set this window any place. And if I wanted to, right here, get some detail editing in, then I can see it just by putting my cursor where it is, and I have that. I could go down here, edit this, change this, remove this. If you've got ripple edit turned on, then you could press one key, boom, it's gone, the spot's gone. You just have a whole bunch of other things that are pretty cool. We change the color. This is a whole separate window, and it has its own zoom levels. I could zoom out and see it. I could zoom in. So now if you want to do no zooming on your main track, then you could go ahead and edit in this track. That's what this window is for. It's for having a different view of the same audio and allowing you to go through and use that for editing. Because now if I click here, there it is down there. And a lot of times this one I will keep zoomed in if I need that kind of thing. Let's review. There's 4 ways that I've just talked about zooming. Number 1, you can use a timeline up here and drag it up and down, side to side. Both of those will allow you to zoom quickly. Number 2, keyboard shortcuts. E and W allow you to zoom in and out quickly. Number 3, you can go ahead and Alt Shift, Option Shift, and zoom in. I'm going to get rid of this because look at this. So I hold this, zoom in. Now I had done it twice. Same thing. Click, click, and I'm back to the original level. So if I really want to zoom in and I don't want that second window and I want to be able to see this, I don't know what can be any faster than that. Not only that, a single click gets you back. So it's a killer productivity thing if you have a lot of detailed editing that you have to do, because with a single click, you're back. So I don't see that. There's options here. And then if you really want, you can set up a separate window that has totally different zoom levels, horizontal, vertical, and you can quickly look at details. And you don't even, all you have to do, see that one little thing right there? Well, there it is. It's right there. Okay. Now you can see the difference in the highlight. I highlighted something here. I'll make it bigger. You can see, and if I take this and press my delete key because Ripple Edit is turned on, it's gone in both versions. This is not a different version. This is just a different view. So you can set that up. I'll undo that. You can set this thing up if you choose to have any kind of view that works for you. And then now you're not having to do any zoom. And then in terms of editing features, okay, some of these DAWs don't allow you to have more than one window. You have to have separate windows for everything. Well, yeah, so they go, oh, you can have separate windows and you can switch between them. You know what? I don't do that. What I do is you duplicate the track, and now I'll change the color of this guy here and make him a different color. And I might mute this one and make it small, but now I'm working on a copy. So now you have a copy. So now you can go back to the other one. You can go ahead and do things like if you really, really want to do some bizarre things, instead of having multiple windows open, I just drag in all the audio into different tracks, and then I'm working from track to track instead of from window to window. It is actually a lot faster to go ahead down here and copy something out of here. Oh, let me colorize it. Let's go ahead and take this, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, let me close this window because I'm not using this right now. Let's say I need to take this and put this into this track above. I'll make them both a little taller so you can see. So this would pretend it was a different set of audio. I dragged in a different something here. I'm going to take this and I'll make this red just so you can see it. Okay. Now, if I want to put that, say, right here and move everything else over, watch this. I have Ripple Edit turned on. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it in here where I want it. And boom, it moved everything else over. If I missed it a little bit, there it is. So I dragged it from the bottom one, and I could have done, if I knew the right keyboard shortcuts, I'm going to undo that and put that back. I could have done a drag here that's add the Alt key, and now it's a copy from down below. And I'll put this right here where I wanted it, and it moved everything over. So I did a copy, drag, and insert with just dragging things around, okay? So in terms of somebody telling, now, and I'm please don't think I'm telling you everything. There's like 20 other little shortcut things that you can do to make your job easier if you want to. And they don't take long to learn. And most of them are drag and drop oriented, and they're drags, and you need to know a couple keyboard combinations to add to your drags. And when you do, you have all this functionality. And instead of working between 20 different windows, we have extra tracks, and you can colorize something, and you can duplicate things, and you can, if I needed to make a copy of this to work on it and see what it's going to sound like. I mean, here's what I do a lot of times. Let me show you one final cool thing, then I'm going to end this. I want you to know I'm not getting into everything. Let me take out this track. Watch this. Remove track. All right. Let's say I want to, I'm editing a podcast for somebody, or I'm editing somebody else's audio, and I have to take out stuff. A lot of times I like to have a safety belt, a way to get back to the original easily. So I'm going to take out slivers of audio through here. I'm going to take them out at random, but just for an example, and watch how easy this is. I'm going to take this part here, and I'm going to drag it down, and I'm going to drop it. And what did it do? It made another track for me. And then I'm going to mute that track after I do the first one. So after the first time, I have an extra baby step. I mute it. So now I could listen to this audio and see if I like it. If I don't, I could undo it. But then every other time, if I want to take something out, I grab this, highlight what I want, drag it down to my muted track. It just went away. I mean, it closed up the space. And now I can listen to it by a simple double click. With a double click, I can listen. So I can drag it down, double click. And there's a couple other secrets. I'm not even showing you some of the cool stuff. But everything that I want to take out, I can take them out by just dragging it straight down into my muted track. And then now I can listen to it with a double click. Double click, that's muted. I start here. Wherever you double click, it will start playing automatically. So I hope you get the idea. It's a absolutely stellar environment for editing. So don't let anybody tell you that there's some other DAW that does it faster. Somebody else might be able to get an equivalent, but they're not going to get faster. And I have people that they record in Studio One because it has the best punch and roll that exists. There's a couple others that are really good. This has the best. We've got our crap key. We can do some other things. But then when it comes to editing, they go someplace else. It's just they don't know the shortcuts that are here. And if they did, they'd do it all right here in Studio One. It actually is faster. And you can have all these little clever things that you can do. Most of these I cover in the Advanced Studio One class. And then we keep adding stuff. So I think you'll be impressed the more you learn. But don't let anybody tell you that it's faster to zoom in some other product. It's not. They just don't know the shortcuts. And I don't mind the casual user saying that, but I am bothered when then instructor types say it because people believe them and they're actually wrong in that case. Okay. I hate to say that, but you have 4 ways that I just showed you. And there are other shortcuts that I'm not showing you that are available. And you can see just one example of what we just did here. And since when you have multiple tracks, you can do all sorts of interesting things when you have very complex projects that need a bunch of editing. This is spectacular. You just cannot believe how productive you can be while using this tool. Now, first time, yeah, you have to learn all the shortcuts. Somebody isn't going to know you could if you're using something like Twisted Wave, you can't drag and drop to another track. That's just not supported. So they'll never think of that. They're not going to think of going in here and changing the volume on this little segment like that with a drag. They're not going to think of putting in a fade by dragging the fade thing. So if you had an audio book and you had a sample and you want to fade it out at the beginning or fade it out at the end, they don't have those controls, so they can't do that. All right, let me look at comments here. Can you undo those drag downs? Well, yeah, you could undo them. So 2 things, Joe. You can drag those down, but if I wanted to put it back, I'm going to drag it back up here, and now it is there. And I'm going to undo that again. So this is later after I've done a bunch of other operations. But I'm gonna change its color so that it makes it, oh no, that's too close. Let me go, that's worse. Let me go here. All right. So now this event here, I'm gonna take it, and by default, by the way, it wants to go straight up. So if I had dragged it straight, by default, it wants to do something called a constrained drag, where it actually puts it to the millisecond on the track above. So if I had taken it out at one point and I went straight back up, it's gonna go back. So there's an undo to put that thing back and move everything over. So I moved it down, it closed it up. I want to put it back. Now it comes back up. And remember, that's after doing a bunch of other operations in here. So yes, you can undo those drag downs if you wanted. And remember, I've got this track muted here, but this is another example of a shortcut that most people don't know. Double click any place in the timeline and it starts playing. I have it muted here because I don't want to be talking over this, but it would start playing if I don't have it muted. Okay, I should turn that on so you hear it. Decent. Okay, so there it is. But I'm just have it muted for this example. Double click, but here's something that most people don't realize. I drag this down. If I really wanted to listen to it, I also could double click below the track and it would do the same thing because I have the option turned on, which is really simple. That allows you to double click in the blank space. And then if I double click and then a single click any place, we'll move the cursor and it keeps playing. Once it starts playing, the double click starts to play, double click stops to play, a single click moves the playhead. So it just means I could take something, drag it down, it closes up the space, double click, and it will start wherever I double click. It'll single click, I'll move it around to where I want. So if I wanted to, I don't even use the looping anymore. It's got this killer looping thing. I leave my mouse cursor where it is and click one time and it goes back and it would be playing that, looping back, playing that. I just do that. I single click and bring it back. I just leave the mouse where I started. And then if I move, if I need to. So you have all these built-in things, a lot more than what a lot of people give it credit. And I'm just saying, if they're telling you it's faster in something else, have them talk to me. And I'd like to see an example. 9 out of 10 times when they show me an example, I go, oh, well, we've got 3 shortcuts that'll do something similar. And every once in a while, hey, somebody else will have something better. That happens all the time. There's no perfect. But 4 out of 5 times, we'll be able to match them and we'll be able to beat them. Okay? But not perfect. It isn't perfect. It isn't 100%. I find things in other DAWs. And by the way, every time I see something that I really like in some other DAW, I'm going through some back channels and talking to people about, I'm putting it on a list going, hey guys, look at how cool this is in this other product. We want this. Okay. Sometimes they've got this massive list of things. They've got years worth of improvements that they know about and they're scheduling them in, and I don't have a lot to say about that. All right, let me see what else. I can get the manual drag back. I meant, can you restore it to its exact original spot? It is I mean, Yeah, Joe, I don't know. I don't know exactly what to tell you. First off, the original spot depends on what you did before, but remember, you can put it back wherever you want. By default, it's going to go straight up. That's where you took it down. You took it straight down. So I'm not sure. I mean, there is if I drag this one back up, I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna drag it down. I could do anything else here. When I drag it back up, it is the exact spot. So I don't know what you mean by can I put it back? I mean, there is the exact spot, but I guess you could do some things and you could put it someplace else if you wanted. Anyway, I don't, and most of the other things can't do what this can do. And of course, it depends on exactly what you're doing. But that's how you would restore it to the exact same spot. Now, you can undo, but, and to be honest with you, before I do any of this stuff, I right click and duplicate track complete. So I have a complete copy of my track before I do any kind of editing. So in my case, if I really was bothered by something I did, I get done and go, crap, I messed this up somehow. Then I always have my original one sitting there, and you can do some other things that nobody knows about that we don't usually do. For example, you can go ahead and you can lock the track. Now that track is locked, and now I can't make changes to that track. So if somebody really wanted to keep a track and not allow it, that track's locked right now. So you can lock them, you can unlock them, you can disable the track. You can do the same thing on events. Most people don't know about that, but you can go ahead and there's some time lock and edit lock so that you can lock it so it can't move side to side and lock it so that it won't allow editing. Okay. There's a bunch of these things behind the scenes, just people normally they don't pay attention to. So what I would do, Joe, before I do any of this stuff, is I would have right clicked and duplicated it. And then that way, when I want to put something back, if I really had a total catastrophic mess up on my part, I've got an easy way back to the original. I always keep the originals. All the audio is there. No matter what you do, you can get it all back. So you should know one other thing. In the background, an autosave is kicking in every 5 minutes. So I have all these save points that are occurring that I could get back to if I really needed to. And I got myself twisted up. And I've done that plenty of times. But that's really how the first thing that I do before I do any of this editing is I make a track copy. Okay. So hopefully that covers most of the use cases. Nothing's perfect. But just don't let anybody tell you that they can edit faster, that like they can zoom in faster in some other product. And I haven't even talked about the layers and if we wanted to put in room tone, we've got the fastest way of doing that. There are other techniques. I'm not even scratching the surface. I just want you to know there's depth, and there's a lot of people out there that don't know the depth of the tool that we have here in Studio One. And so they act like, well, and best they know, it is faster in these other products because they have a technique there. They have one technique, we might have 4, but they don't realize that we have the other ones because they look at it and no one would know Alt Shift, Option Shift, that's a zoom in. Who knows that? I mean, in terms of, especially if they're casual users of Studio One, and then with a single click, we can get back. Understandably, they wouldn't know that. They look for the features and they don't see it, and they do know the keyboard shortcuts. They just don't know. That's okay. All right. That's why I'm here. All right. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. This will be on YouTube soon. And of course, I still have that up there. I probably do someplace. Oh yeah, I've got that sitting right here. Be sure to check out and make comments. By the way, if you make comments on YouTube, man, is that ever helpful for this stuff? And then check out VO Jumpstart. And if you have questions, comments, whatever, hit me up in the group, send me a private message, whatever. Look forward to talking to you later. See you on the wires. Bye.